Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 virtual TTC Public Forum on on accessible transit. This is the second time the TTC has held this event virtually, and thank you for taking the time to participate. We all know that the past 20 months have been like no other for all of us, and I want to welcome everyone who is watching online and participating in tonight's forum using the webcast or Twitter with the hashtag TTC Access. And to our customers who are participating by phone, 416-764-8646. So maybe I should introduce myself. My name is Keisha Campbell. I am the Chief Diversity and Culture Officer at the TTC, and I will be your moderator for this evening. The presentation and discussion today will be closed caption and include ASL interpreters. So we do encourage all presenters to allow time for interpretation. I'd like to begin with the land acknowledgement. So can we cue the land acknowledgement video?
We acknowledge the land we are traveling on is the traditional territory of many nations, including
the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the
Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge
that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaties signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa nations.
A land acknowledgement gives time for reflection and demonstrates recognition of Indigenous lands, treaties, and peoples.
By making a land acknowledgement, you are taking part in the act of honoring the land and Indigenous presence, which dates back over 10,000 years.
Land acknowledgements mark an important step in the process of reconciliation and building a positive relationship with Indigenous peoples. It involves thinking about what happened in the past and what changes can be made going forward. We're all accountable for these relationships. This June, in honor of Indigenous History Month, and every day, I encourage you to take a moment and reflect on the land that we work, travel, and live on.
Thank you for that. So tonight is an opportunity for the TTC to provide you with updates on our ongoing work to provide barrier-free and accessible service that allows for freedom of travel for all customers and equity in transportation for people with disabilities. Importantly, tonight is also an opportunity for you to ask questions and provide your feedback and suggestions about the TTC's conventional and specialized transit services. We will also be providing you with updates on the TTC's response thus far to the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight's agenda will unfold in two parts. During the first part of the evening, we will hear from TTC representatives, including TTC Chair Jay Robinson, Igor Szmajewski, the 2021 Chair for the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, or ACAT, as we call it, Matt Hag, who is our Senior Planner of System and Accessibility, and Dwayne Geddes, Head of WheelTrans. Following these presentations, we will have an open forum, which is really an opportunity to hear from those of you who've already submitted your questions ahead of time or will be submitting questions during the webcast. You can use Twitter or the phone line to submit your questions. So now I'd like to welcome TTC Chair Jay Robinson to provide opening remarks.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the TTC's 14th Annual Forum on Accessible Transit. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jay Robinson. I'm City Councillor for Ward 15, Don Valley West, and very proudly so, the Chair of the TTC. So we're so happy you're joining us this evening, and I'd like to also acknowledge my fellow TTC commissioners, many of whom are participating in this event this evening. Vice Chair Joanne De Laurentiis, Councillor Brad Bradford, Councillor Shelley Carroll, Councillor Cynthia Lai, Councillor Jennifer McKelvey, Councillor Denzel Minnan-Wong, Commissioner Julie Osborne, Commissioner Ron Lalonde, and Commissioner Jagdeo. The councillors are also commissioners, so that is our full slate on the TTC board. And again, a lot of us are here to listen to your input and your feedback this evening. Of course, I'd also like to introduce the chair of the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. Many of you know Igor Szmajewski, and he's been an amazing contributor to our TTC board meetings and the subcommittees that flow throughout the year. So I do want to thank Igor and of course his predecessor Mazen. They've done an excellent job leading ACAT through this challenging period as we continue to grapple with the ongoing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. ACAT provides invaluable advice to the TTC board on accessibility matters to ensure that we are planning proactively and, where necessary, reacting quickly to resolve issues. I will keep my remarks brief this evening because we're really looking forward to hearing your feedback, your suggestions as our riders. But the TTC's mission statement is to provide a reliable, efficient, accessible, and integrated bus, streetcar, and subway network. While the TTC has made significant strides in the past decade to make public transit more accessible for all, we know that there is still much work to do. A decade ago, only 40% of the subway stations were accessible, and 100% of the streetcar network was not accessible for many transit riders. Now, 100% of our streetcar network and subway fleet, as well as 53 subway stations, 71% are accessible. Construction is underway at many of our remaining stations, with several additional projects slated to begin later this year. Across the TTC, there are many exciting initiatives underway, including improved accessible bus stops, upgraded subway stations, next generation accessible fleets, and more that you will hear about this evening. WheelTrans is halfway through its 10-year strategy. As you will hear from our head of WheelTrans, Dwayne Geddes, progress is being made on many fronts, including new vehicles, enhanced access hubs, which are the transfer points between the TTC and WheelTrans services, and upgraded technology to improve rider experience. As a TTC chair, I am fully committed to making accessibility a priority and ensuring that all TTC stations are barrier-free by 2025 in accordance with the AODA. But it goes beyond that. We need to continue reviewing and implementing additional measures to eliminate barriers and allow for a seamless rider experience across the TTC network and in all aspects of our service. The TTC recognizes and values the diversity of our riders. The TTC is everyone's system. I look forward to continuing to work with the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, ACAT, to ensure the TTC meets the needs of all Torontonians. Your feedback is an important part of this process, and I encourage you to participate this evening. You can also listen to the forum by calling 416-764-8646. Ask questions via this webcast or via Twitter using the hashtag TTC Access. I'd like to conclude by thanking the entire team that helped to pull this event together tonight. I hope it's a fantastic experience for everyone. And thank you for taking the time to give us your input and feedback and be here this evening. It means the world to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Robinson. And now I'll turn it over to Igor Szmajewski, ACAT Chair, and he will provide us an update on ACAT priorities.
Good evening. My name is Igor Szmajewski, and I am the current chair of the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit. I first just want to thank Chair Robinson and the Chief Diversity and Culture Officer, Keisha Campbell, for their opening remarks this evening and all the staff involved in putting this event together. Next slide, please. The Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit, as many of you might know, is a committee that reports to the TTC Board and represents the needs and concerns of TTC riders with disabilities and seniors. Next slide, please. As a committee, we engage and provide feedback on a whole range of issues related to accessibility. More recently, these have included new COVID-19 related protocols, the new TTC website, as well as past and ongoing topics such as family of service implementation, the Easier Access program, which is responsible for elevators in every subway station, new vehicle designs, station designs, and new transit line developments. Next slide, please. The Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit hosts monthly public meetings. Because of COVID-19, these meetings have been taking place virtually. There is, however, a WebEx link that allows attendees to observe from the public. These meetings take place on the last Thursday of every month from 1 to 3:30 p.m. and details are posted on the TTC website for how to access it. We encourage everyone from the public to attend if you're able to do so and participate in this manner. The public is also able to correspond with us, ACAT, via deputation, which can be submitted in multiple formats, including written correspondence, a live presentation, or another format that works for you. Details of this, again, can be found on the TTC website. You can also get in touch with ACAT by email. Our email address is acat@ttc.ca, or you can leave a message for us by phone. Next slide, please. Every year, the Advisory Committee on Accessible Transit recruits 5 new volunteer members in September. If you'd like to serve on this committee, please visit the TTC website for more information on the recruitment process and how to get involved. And finally, I would just like to thank the public for attending this meeting tonight and taking the time out of your busy schedules to participate. I encourage you to ask questions on any aspect of the TTC system. In this role, I am constantly reminded of the challenges that the current system may present to you, your family, friends, or loved ones as you or they try to navigate this complex, ever-changing transportation landscape. This is our opportunity to hear from you, seek feedback, and work towards creating the most accessible transit system in the world. As you will hear from my fellow colleagues tonight, we are committed to accessibility and working towards improving the system for every user. Thank you for participating, and I look forward to hearing your stories and lived experience traveling on the TTC. And with that, I'll hand it back to Keisha.
Thank you for that thorough update, Igor. And now I'd like to hand it over to Matt Hagg, Senior Planner, System and Accessibility, who will provide us an update on our TTC accessibility program.
Thank you, Keisha, and good evening, everyone. Tonight, I will provide you with a brief update on the TTC's ongoing work to make our conventional transit system, which includes subway trains and stations, buses, and streetcars, accessible to customers of all abilities by 2025. Next slide, please. Right now, we're focused on ensuring that everyone is safely accommodated on the TTC during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Importantly, TTC has mandated COVID-19 vaccinations for all employees and contractors, and masks are currently mandatory for all while on the TTC. Last year, distance markings were installed across the system, including decals indicating not to sit on certain seats, as shown in photo 2 on screen. In April of this year, we began to share real-time crowding information on buses via our partner Rocketman and transit apps. As shown in the graphics on screen, this allows customers to check and see if the next few buses approaching a stop are not busy, busy, or very busy. Frequent vehicle disinfecting continues, and we've installed accessible sanitizing stations throughout. Of course, mobility device securement on buses and assistance with the streetcar ramp continues to remain available at all times, and we continue to consult with ACAT to ensure that the valued advice from our committee members is integrated into plans, projects, and policies. Next slide, please. As Chair Robinson mentioned, TTC now has 53 accessible subway stations, and since the last public forum, elevators and other accessibility features were completed at Wilson, Bay, Runnymede, and Kiel stations, and 10 more stations are now under construction. The photo on screen shows the new Line 2 westbound elevator at Kiel Station. TTC remains committed to having all stations accessible by 2025. That said, we know that our work doesn't end there. TTC is also working on a study to prioritize further easier access improvements at key stations, such as additional elevators, once our current program to make all stations accessible has been completed. And in addition to stations, we've also been consulting with ACAT and the public on next generation accessible subway train designs over the past year. Next slide, please. TTC continues to focus on making it easier to cross the gap between subway trains and station platforms based on your feedback from previous public forums. The photo on screen shows newly installed and gently sloped yellow platform edge tiles, which better meet the height of the train doors, as well as rubber gap fillers, which decrease the distance between the trains and platforms. We've now completed edge tile work at several stations, such as Eglinton, St. Clair, Finch, and Dundas, among others, and we expect to complete rubber gap filler installations at 10 station platforms by the end of this year. More platforms will be completed next year where feasible. Next slide, please. We're also continuing our efforts to make our surface transit system more accessible. All of our buses are low floor, accessible with ramps, and equipped with external route and destination announcements, which make it easier for all customers to find their bus. We're also working to make hundreds more bus stops accessible and have upgraded over 500 stops to date. These stops feature hard surface pads for easy boarding and contrasting stop poles with route information, as shown in photos 1 and 2 on screen. The first phase of our Rapid TO program is enabling faster and more frequent accessible bus service in Scarborough. Photo 3 shows buses operating in the red painted lane. And next month, the TTC and our partners at the City and Metrolinx will launch a fully accessible automated shuttle trial in the West Rouge neighborhood. Photo 4 depicts the automated shuttle with the ramp deployed. And back in May, TTC launched free public Wi-Fi service on board our vehicles on the Jane and Markham Road corridors to support the city's Connect TO program, which aims to improve information accessibility in priority neighborhoods. Next slide, please. Low-floor vehicles operate on all of our streetcar routes, and we've ordered 60 more to support more reliable, accessible service in the future. The photos on screen show streetcar accessibility features such as ramps, doors, and stops. We've almost completed the process of making nearly all streetcar stops accessible, and 15 more will be made accessible by the time that streetcar service resumes on Roncesvalles Avenue next year. Next slide, please. Last year, we received over 100 different comments and suggestions from customers here at the forum. I can assure you that all of the comments were reviewed and detailed responses, as well as actions taken, are available online at ttc.ca. We'll do the same again this year. Thank you.
Thank you for that extensive update, Matt. A lot of great work underway. So now I'd like to turn it over to Dwayne Geddes, our head of WheelTrans, who will give us a 10-year strategy update.
Thank you, Keisha. I wanted to start my presentation by saying a very heartfelt thank you to ACAT for all of the great work that they've done over the last year. It really has been very beneficial to the TTC, and you've worked very closely with our TTC staff to collaborate on a bunch of different recommendations that we've certainly implemented. I also want to thank our customers who are joining in to give us their feedback. We take that insight very seriously, and we always want to make sure that we implement those things to improve accessibility. And last but not least, I know that there are a number of our staff who are tuning in right now, whether they're frontline or back house employees. We want to thank you very much for all the work you've done throughout the pandemic. So thank you, of course, for that. We'll go on to the next slide here. And speaking of the pandemic, I wanted to start my presentation with a brief overview on the impacts of COVID-19 to WheelTrans. And you'll see here our current state is about 26,000 active WheelTrans customers. And pre-COVID, that was about 43,000. So you can see the comparison there. And for monthly applications, we're around 500 monthly applications. And pre-COVID, that was 1,000. And our ridership, our peak weekdays are around the 6,000 to 7,000 marker now. And that's compared to a 15,000 pre-COVID number. Next slide, please. Some of the key actions that we've implemented since the start of the pandemic include implementing a mandatory mask policy for our customers' employees, which you heard from Matt just a little earlier, providing solo rides for our WheelTrans customers to ensure social distancing, installing a protective barrier between our customers and operators to ensure enhanced safety. We provide our operators, all of our operators, with personal protective equipment, and we were able to add a complimentary distribution of 1 million masks to all of our customers. So we're very proud of all the work that we're done, and much more work continues to be done throughout the pandemic. Next slide, please. We'll get into some key updates on the WheelTrans 10-year transformation. As you know, the 10-year strategy is all about transforming the customer experience. And at WheelTrans, providing our customers with an accessible transit service that ensures dignity, spontaneity, fairness, and freedom of travel to our customers is of top priority. We want to make sure they enjoy the benefits of public transit to the fullest. And part of that transformation, and something that our customers have asked for, is a brand new vehicle. And that's pictured on the screen right here. It's our 7-meter ProMaster vehicle. It will replace our older friendly vehicles that you've seen for many, many years. They're coming to an end of life, and now we're replacing all those vehicles with some brand new modernized vehicles. And we received our first pilot in September of 2020. And of course, we consulted with ACAT, and they were given an opportunity to review and provide feedback on this vehicle just to make sure that we got it right. And we've been able to get that feedback, and now we are starting to receive these vehicles in stock. Coming in the end of this year, we'll receive 10, and over 2022, we'll receive another 100 of these vehicles. Next slide, please. The cornerstone of our 10-year transformation is family of services. And family of services, by now, everybody should be familiar with that term and the concept. But as a recap, family of services is simply when a WheelTrans customer uses the conventional TTC, whether that's bus, streetcar, subway, or stations, for all or part of their journey. And so we're very excited about that. We know that many customers are taking advantage of our conventional system, whether it's in combination with WheelTrans or strictly on their own, to really get that freedom of travel where they don't even have to call and book a trip. They're just getting on our streetcars, or our buses, or our subways, and traveling on our conventional system, which is really the goal of family of services. Next slide, please. Understanding and defining eligibility is an extremely important part of the transformation here at WheelTrans. There are 3 types of eligibility: unconditional, conditional, and temporary. And if you're unsure of your eligibility status or have any questions related to reassessment or re-registration, we strongly encourage you to contact our customer service center. A key part of this transformation and conditional trip matching is really getting the conditional eligibility right and getting your eligibility right. So if you should be conditional, we'll put you as conditional. And if you should be unconditional, we want to make sure we get that right as well. Next slide, please. So conditional trip matching, of course, as I mentioned earlier, is extremely important. And this is about when you book your trip. And what we want to be able to do here is match your trip with your conditions and your abilities. And if you're able to use our conventional system, we want to make sure we offer you that. That was the whole reason why we went to all of these efforts to upgrade the system and to make the full system accessible so that it's equitable and fair for all, and we're providing free fairness of travel for all of our customers. And we'll start to see conditional trip matching in 2022. Next slide, please. On this slide, we have access hubs, which has been a very key component of the transformation program. And we're happy to report that all 16 access hubs are now complete and in service. These hubs are spacious. They have room for multiple mobility devices, have accessible doors. They are well lit and heated for added comfort during the winter months. Pictured here on this slide are 2 hubs. One is in the daytime, showing how spacious they are. Another one is at night, demonstrating how the lighting is activated. Next slide, please. This slide provides a brief update on our call center performance over the last year. We knew that we couldn't truly be successful in transforming WheelTrans without taking a deep dive into our contact center and its performance. So we did that, and we started looking at ways to be more efficient and modern and flexible, all while providing a high quality of service to our customers. And this led us to an overflow solution that was approved by the board in 2020, and it was implemented later that year in November of 2020. And since that time, this is what this graph shows of the improvement that we've seen since the introduction of that overflow solution. The abandonment rate is down to 4.5%. Which is an all-time low, and our average wait time is down to three minutes. So we're very excited about that, and that was something we knew customers have been telling us year over year at these accessible forums, and we're happy to be able to deliver on that particular aspect of the transformation program. Next slide, please. Lastly, we'll talk about, I'll conclude my presentation by talking about the very exciting mobile app. And many customers have been able to test this out. ACAT, of course, has been all over this and giving us their feedback. We want to make sure, again, we get this right. So this pilot will continue, and we'll expand the pilot to include more and more customers. If you're interested, if you're a customer and you are very tech savvy and you'd like to take advantage of this pilot and give us feedback on this mobile app, we encourage you to contact our customer service center. We want to get your feedback on this. We want to make sure we get it right before we roll it out to all of our customers. And you can take part in giving feedback on that. So some of the key components of the mobile app is listed here below. Receive a call ahead is another very important part of it. Receiving messages or service alerts to impact your trip. Set communication notification preferences, and the very popular "Where's my ride" function. So that's all part of this mobile app. We're very proud of that, and we want you to take part in that as well. Lastly, as much as there are many exciting things happening at WheelTrans, we know that there are going to be even more things to come in the future, and we really are excited about all the different things that will be happening. There'll be a number of different software enhancements that are coming in the coming weeks, actually, as we deliver phase 4 of our software upgrade. And we also expect many more exciting features and enhancements to come in the coming months. And as we transform WheelTrans, we're looking to continue to provide that spontaneity, freedom of travel for all of our customers to ensure that we provide you with the best possible customer experience. And that's the end of my presentation. I'll turn it back to you, Keisha.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. So I think I might be using "Where's my ride" feature going forward.
Absolutely.
So now for what all of you are here to do today is really to participate in our open forum. So the purpose of the open forum is really to hear your thoughts, to get your feedback about issues and challenges, as well as suggestions for possible improvements. Responding to your questions and comments, we will have a TTC panel, and we have Kirsten Watson with us, who is our Deputy Chief Executive Officer. We also have Mark Miss. Mark is our Head of Service Planning and Scheduling. And then again, we will be joined with Dwayne, who you just heard from, Igor, and Matt. So we encourage each panelist to identify themselves by their name before providing a response to a question. As facilitator, my role would be to ensure that tonight's discussion takes place in a respectful manner. So I'll be holding all of you accountable. And we'll hear from as many customers as possible so we can keep our comments brief, please. There are a number of people who have submitted questions ahead of time, and we will be getting to many of them. So there are a few other ways that you can participate. As the event is being live streamed online, those of you watching from home can submit questions through the webcast directly. You can also call in at 416-764-8646, and you can also ask questions through Twitter using the hashtag TTC Access. Periodically throughout the event, we will share feedback with you and also look forward to hear from you for those that are online. So in terms of a process, I believe we can open the line, Sylvie, to hear questions from our customer callers. Heather will read out several. Sorry.
I'm sorry, at this time we have no phone questions.
Thanks, Sylvie. Heather will read out several questions from those who've already submitted in advance of tonight's live stream. And from tonight's webcast, we will also have Maria reading out questions from Twitter. We will then turn it over to our panelists to address these questions. If we have time, we will do this a few more times to ensure that we can get to as many questions as possible. So if you do not have a chance to share your comment or ask your question tonight, you can also do so following this event. I will provide information about this before we leave tonight, and we will be posting questions or posting answers, to all questions online in a short time ahead. This will include both what we discussed tonight and those questions we did not get a chance to answer. Now is your opportunity to share your thoughts, comments, and ideas. And as a reminder, please keep your comments brief so that we may hear from as many people as possible. I will now turn things back over to Sylvie, who will open the phone lines. Thank you, Sylvie.
Thank you. Just a reminder for those on the phone to press star 1 if you have a question. Please stand by. Currently, we have none.
And then maybe I'll go over to Heather now. Let's hear from Heather on questions received in advance during this evening's webcast.
Perfect. Thank you, Keisha. So I do have a number of questions that have come in both ahead of time and since the event has started. So the first group of questions for our panel members relate to our support person card, our family of services and conditional trip matching, and vehicle and operator reliability. So the first question to deal with support person card, could the TTC consider changing the policy from every 3 years to no renewal after 70 for someone with a permanent disability, or renewal by photo only? The next question under family of services and conditional trip matching, why do people have to get redone or reassessed, and how can I get a form for special medical appointments? And another one under family of services, I find it difficult taking and using family of services. I find it's a far walk between the drop off and pickup spot, and a long walk to get to the subway. For example, one of the subways I was dropped off at, it was a long walk down to the platform. There was no seating, and the trip took twice the amount of time that a direct trip would have taken. So I'm actually going to pause there because that's a lot to digest for our panel, and I'll turn things over to our panel.
Okay, thanks, Heather. I'll start off with the support person card question. Those were both great points about renewing the card and perhaps a photo only renewal. We are looking at a lessons learned for this program right now, actually. And I expect we'll have more to say on that in the coming months, but we've heard both of these suggestions before, as well as from other customers, and we will be considering both of those.
Thanks. I'll take the family of services questions, of course, and they actually are kind of they're very closely aligned. So I'll kind of answer both of them in the same sort of answer. There was a question about why be reassessed? Why do we have to go through the reassessment? And the main reason for that is because we want to make sure that we get the eligibility correct. We want to make sure that we actually get the correct eligibility criteria for you, so that we are able to determine whether you're able to use conventional or not able to use conventional at all. A very important point to mention here is that WheelTrans door-to-door service is not going anywhere. We recognize the fact that there are customers who will not be able to use the conventional system, and family of services may not work for them. And we're well aware of that, and that's why WheelTrans door-to-door will always be there. But that's one of the main reasons why we want to make sure that we get the assessments right. If we get the assessments right, then we'll know whether you should be conditional or unconditional. And unconditional simply means that you will require WheelTrans door-to-door service all of the time. And then for conditional, that means that you may be able to take the conventional system sometimes. And the other thing that happens as well when we get that assessment right is that we're able to determine which type of family of services trip may work for you. There are a number of different types of conditions related to family of services. So there would be exemptions if perhaps you are not able to travel in rush hour. There may be an exemption for you not to be able to do long walks, which it sounds like that was one of the examples that were given here. So there are a number of different exemptions. Traveling in bad weather is another one. So we have a list of things that we want to make sure we cover everything. So if you're not able to travel on the conventional system all of the time, then we want to make sure that we capture that and we provide you door-to-door service. So that would be the solution there. In terms of getting reassessed or re-registration, we encourage everybody to do that. You just have to call our customer service center, and our customer service reps will be able to walk you through that process, making sure that you are registered correctly, reassess you to make sure that we get you in the right criteria in terms of eligibility. And that way we'll make sure that everybody is getting the type of trip that suits their abilities. I think that answered both of them. I hope I did. Thank you.
Yes, so now maybe we'll go over to Maria. Maria, do we have any questions from our Twitter customers?
I'm on mute. Hi, everybody. So we do have a few questions on Twitter. There's a suggestion here around keeping the sanitizers permanent in stations after, COVID-19 concerns lessen, which I think is a good point to touch on. We're also hearing some feedback around Wilson Station. Although, it may not be properly wheelchair accessible for some people, as there are some concerns around platform edge gaps, both vertically and horizontally. So there's some, maybe we can discuss that. As well, there's the concern around safety in using traditional transit. So just some of the issues with rider abuse, and as well as maybe some concerns around, elevators and the ways that, people are kind of using them in not the most great way. So if there's, I know safety concerns have been a huge part during COVID. So those are the few kind of questions we've received so far on Twitter.
Thanks, Maria. So I heard Wilson, I heard sanitizing, and I heard safety. So who wants to take what? Thanks, Kirsten.
Hi, it's Kirsten Watson. I will address the hand sanitizer and the suggestion of keeping it going after the pandemic. I mean, I think it's quite clear we have no intention of taking away the sanitizer, and we're going to just wait and see how things go. Everybody seems to like it. It keeps our customers safe. People are using it, which is fantastic. So we're going to keep it up as long as we need to. Good suggestion, though. Thank you.
It's Matt speaking. I'll address Wilson Station. We've heard similar comments from our ACAT members and other customers regarding the platform gaps. So as soon as we heard that, we bumped Wilson to the top of our list to be addressed, and materials to correct the platform gaps at Wilson Station were ordered earlier this summer. Delivery of these things is taking longer these days due to COVID-19 and the supply chain, but we're hoping to be able to correct that as soon as possible.
Thanks for that, Matt. And Kristen, I think you're going to be back up with safety.
Yeah, I'll try and address the issue of customer safety in our stations. So obviously it's always a concern, and we have employees in all of our stations. We have station supervisors, we have the customer service agents, we have the collectors, we have transit enforcement, and we of course have our revenue protection. And we have deployed those throughout our station system and also on the surface system to exactly do that, to provide enhanced customer safety. And if there are issues in the station, people should feel very comfortable approaching a TTC employee to ask for help, and we will dispatch services immediately. We're all in this together, and we all need to help each other. And we realize that some of these safety issues are happening, and we're well aware of it. And that's why we've done the deployment as we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. So Sylvie, maybe we go back to the phone lines. Do we have any questions on the phones?
Yes, we do. The next question from the phone will be Heather O'Neill. Please go ahead.
I believe I already asked the question. It was regarding if you have the standing of unconditional, why do we have to go through all the, I'm going to use the term rigmarole again, and raise the stress levels on people, especially during the time of this time of the pandemic.
I think I'll take that one. It's Dwayne Geddes. So thank you for that question, Heather. So this is about eligibility again, and I will reiterate, it's very important for us to get eligibility correct. That's the cornerstone of the Family Services Program. And this was a AODA legislation that came down in January 1st, 2017. And what that legislation said was that we had to ensure that everybody was in one of these new categories of conditional, unconditional, or temporary. And prior to that, all of our customers were considered unconditional. So for fairness for everybody, for all of our WheelTrans customers, what we did was we've asked everybody who was a customer prior to January 1st, 2017 to re-register, to make sure that we've got the appropriate eligibility category for you, whether you should be conditional, unconditional, or temporary. And it's very important to note that this is, at this point, voluntary. You're not forced to do it at this time. We're just asking those who are able to do that to do it. We can do the reassessment with you. It's a pretty straightforward process that can be done with our customer service team. However, it's not mandatory for you to do it immediately. We understand that we are in the middle of a pandemic, which is why we're taking a very methodical approach to this. We understand the feedback that we're hearing from our customers, and some customers just are not comfortable going out there right now. And we understand that. We've heard our customers and we're listening to them loud and clear. And we're taking this very, very slow, methodical approach to this. And if you're not able to go and get reassessed right now, that's fine. We can do that later. But it is voluntary at this time. And those who are able to, we ask that you do. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dwayne. So we just got a question from Heather, and now I'm going to go back to Heather, our Heather. Heather, do we have any more advanced questions that came in, or any questions from the webcast this evening?
We do. So this group of questions is going to relate to reliability of our service. And we've had a number of questions that have come in around operators and vehicles being late for customers. So, for example, what's your reaction when a driver arrives 30 minutes late? Nowadays, it's been an hour late for my vehicle to arrive. Sorry, there's other ones. This person would like to know, when my WheelTrans is late, how long will it be late? Is there an opportunity for operators to call WheelTrans customers and let them know they're running late so that they have an idea of what's going on and they're not thinking that they've been forgotten? So that's a running theme through a number of questions tonight, is just the service that we provide and operators being late for when they say they're coming to pick customers up.
Thanks for that, Heather. So I'm hearing reliability and customer service. So over to you, Dwayne. And I'm sure Mark might want to add something potentially.
Oh, that's
over
great.
to you.
Thank you, Keisha, and thank you for that question from the caller there. So yeah, service reliability is extremely important to WheelTrans, and the way we measure our reliability is on a 20-minute window. As you can imagine, with WheelTrans, it's a very personalized service. We move from all over the city, door to door, and we do pick up customers who may require a little bit more attention than what we have on the schedule. Some customers may only need a few minutes to get onto the vehicle, and others may need 5 or 7 minutes, depending on the disability. So at times, our operators can be late, and of course, they're operating in mixed traffic. So what we try to do as best as we can is our dispatch center, who I'm sure is listening in right now, they do their best to make sure that we get our vehicles on time. And if we need to make adjustments, we do that. What I can tell you, and it's something to very much look forward to in the coming months and weeks. I talked about this off the top on my presentation, is that we have a lot of upgrades coming in our software system. One of those upgrades includes improving the reliability of the software system that we use to schedule our vehicles. And what we are hoping to do is be able to get even more precise on the amount of time that it may take a particular vehicle to get from downtown Toronto to Scarborough, or from Scarborough to Etobicoke. And that way, that'll allow us to be able to plan and schedule these trips a little bit better to make sure that the on-time performance gets even higher. I will tell you that our on-time performance for WheelTrans is at 90%. So we're very proud of the fact that we're hitting 90%, meeting within 20 minutes. However, we want to do better. We're not happy with that, and we want to do better. So we're excited about this upgrade that's coming for our software system. I know that there have been some vehicles that have been late. We've been hearing your concerns regarding that, and we are very committed to improving that particular aspect. of our system. So we look forward for that. There'll be, actually all of our WheelTrans customers, you'll get an update in the next few weeks about the upgrades that we're doing on our software system and all the different things that are coming with it. This is one of those things. This is one of the things that's going to make it a lot better. There's something that we call, and maybe I'm going on too long here, but I want to make sure I get into this because I know that customers want to hear about this. Something that we call a time distance matrix. And all that does is it allows us to know how long it'll take a vehicle to get from one part of the city to another part of the city. Trying to take into consideration construction, which we know where our WheelTrans division is, right down at the foot of the Gardner, there's now been a blockage of that exit, the Logan exit. There's a lot more construction there. So we just have to try to adjust that, right? So that time distance matrix allows us to adjust that. The other thing that we're able to do is to track how our operators are performing in real time in terms of time of day. So in the morning or in the evening or on Saturdays or on Sundays or traveling in the northwest part of the city or the southeast part of the city. So those are things that are going to be coming into place in the coming weeks and months. And we're really anticipating that we'll be able to improve our on-time performance through these enhancements. So please look out for that. We're excited about that coming up. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dwayne. I am sure our customers can't wait. I think you said in the coming weeks.
Yes.
So they'll be waiting for updates on more reliable service at WheelTrans. With that, I'd love to hand it over to Maria. Maria, do we have any questions on Twitter?
Yes, we do. Just more of a general customer service question. Somebody is wondering that if they selected no reply required, if they made a complaint through our customer service portal, if they would still receive updates on that. Yeah, so if you select no reply required, do you still get any sort of communication? And then there's also just a compliment about the mobile app testing. Somebody says that the app came in handy when a vehicle was late. I could see when they were arriving. Thanks.
We always welcome compliments, right? I think that's Dwayne. Thank you very much. And there was also a comment and question in there. I think, Kirsten, you're going to take that one.
Yeah, it's a really brief answer, which is if you've indicated that you didn't want to reply, we will not be providing a reply, but we're welcome to get back to you, and we would like to get back to you if that's what you want. So please, if you're looking for a reply from our customer service department, just indicate that and we will absolutely get back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirsten. So Sylvie, back to the phone lines. Any additional questions?
Question will be from Luis Barrera. Please go ahead.
Hi there. I'm a user of WheelTrans, and my question is, why is there sometimes notification of like the 10 minutes before the driver gets to you, even though it's not correct because they're late? But why is there that sometimes and there isn't the other? And also, I got caught at Women's College from a driver that came all the way from Scarborough to pick me up and bring me home, which made no sense. There were so many other vehicles going in and out from WheelTrans that could have brought me home quicker. That's my question.
Thanks for your question, Louis. I believe that's you, Dwayne.
That is me. Thank you, Keisha. This is Dwayne Geddes again. So I think I touched on this just before on my previous answer about making sure that you see some improvements in our scheduling and our on-time performance in the vehicles. So a vehicle coming from Scarborough to downtown, I mean, we'd have to look at the specifics of that particular incident. But overall, what we're trying to do with this enhancement that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks is get better in those particular instances. We want to make sure that we are scheduling the right vehicle to pick you up and that it makes sense from an efficient standpoint, and that when it comes to the travel patterns and the speed limits in the area, that everything makes sense and it gets to you on time. That's the goal, and that's the improvement that we're trying to hope for. You know, when we talk about this time distance matrix that I was talking about before, what it takes into consideration is the different changes. And you may have seen across the city, a number of streets have reduced the speed limits. And those are the sort of things that we've got to take into consideration. So we can no longer ask a vehicle that may have been traveling down Avenue Road that was typically going 50 kilometers an hour, but now it's down to 40. And we've got to be able to take that into consideration and adjust that. So those are the things that we're excited about. Those are the things that are coming. We understand that those are things that we need to work on and improve, and we've addressed those, and we're going to be addressing those things. We're committed to addressing those things. And I think you mentioned about a 10-minute notification. So that 10-minute notification is a customer request. If you would like to receive that notification, you can turn on that preference. If you do not want that notification, you can turn that notification off. It's one of those notifications on one of our software upgrades as well that we were talking about. So that's something that is your preference, and we can turn that off for you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Heather, maybe I'll go back to you now. Do we have any additional questions from this evening's webcast?
We
Or
do,
maybe
and
a
I'm
few
gonna.
more advanced. Sorry,
We
go ahead.
do, and I'm going to continue on with a theme of notification. So, Dwayne, this is likely coming back to you. Two questions here relating to notification. The first is recently a customer had an 11:30 p.m. pickup, and according to dispatch, the ride was there and left with no notification, even though the customer indicated to ring the bell or knock on the door. When called, dispatch says they don't do that, nor leave a no-show. If they don't do this, why is there a field to indicate this when booking rides? It seems like a false expectation. The other question relating to notification is that there's a new customer, fairly new to WheelTrans. They had booked 3 return trips. Each trip was very problematic, but on their most recent trip, the vehicle never showed up, no notice was given, and they were told by customer service that drivers are not obligated to call if they're going to be late or not coming. In each booking, the customer provided their cell, and this person would like to hear from us. Can you speak to this and how it can be improved?
Thank you. It's Dwayne Geddes speaking again. So I will speak to the 11:30 pickup. So our operators are required to go out, and they will knock on the door or ring the bell. So in this case, since it sounds like we didn't follow the proper procedure there, so we would need some more details on that. So that sounds like a very specific incident. If you could call our customer service center and let us know more details about that, and we can look into that and speak to our operator to correct that action. When it comes to, I believe it was about our customer who was asking if operators can call ahead of time. So our operators do not have mobile phones to make calls. So they can't call ahead of time to say they're going to be late. In fact, what we really want them to focus on is driving and not trying to call a customer, right? We want them to drive safely, get you to where you need to go safely. And even if that means being stuck in traffic or being a little delayed because of some other reason, maybe picking up a customer and the pickup time being a little longer than it was supposed to be, their job is just to drive safely. And then what will happen is we will adjust, our dispatch center will try to adjust the service to try and get it back, to get our vehicles back on time. What we ask our customers to do is after 30 minutes, if a vehicle is late, is to call our priority line. And if the vehicle is late, we can give you an update at that point, but that is the appropriate procedure when it comes to vehicles being late. Our drivers do not have cell phones. We don't encourage them to call while operating. So that's something that they will not do. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dwayne. And I do feel much better knowing that our drivers don't have cell phones while they drive. Thank you. And now I'll go back to Maria, maybe. Maria, do we have any questions on Twitter?
Yes, we have one more question, actually 2. Somebody's actually asking around our hiring practices, particularly around ambassador roles. So they're wondering if people with disabilities, wheelchairs, and other mobility devices are excluded from this position. The other question is a little bit of a fun one. Where's Rick? That's it.
Do I get to fill in for Rick tonight? So maybe who wants to take the ambassador question?
Sure, I'll take that. It's Dwayne Geddes again. So ambassador question was about, do we hire people with disabilities? We actually hire everybody. So it's a very, equity, diversity, inclusion is very, very much a part of our hiring practices. So there's nobody's excluded from being in that position of ambassador. So I believe that answers that. And then was there a question? Where's Rick? Rick is he's here. He's here. He's watching. He can see us, and we can see him. And he says hello for that question for somebody who asked that. He says, hi, how are you?
Thanks for that, Dwayne. And maybe I'll just jump in and just echo what Dwayne said on our hiring practices. In terms of having opportunities for all diverse individuals who are looking to join the TTC family, we're focused on that. And that includes disabilities as well. So our process is equitable. If you're interested in applying for a role, go to our website, set up a profile, and someone on my team will be happy to talk to you about opportunities within the TTC. So with that, maybe I will go back to Sylvie. Sylvie, can we open the phone lines and see if there are any more questions on the phones?
Yes, we do. Next question will be from Sunithra Sangara.
Oh, I was telling about why don't you start amalgamating the Markham, Greater Toronto and Toronto. I am using both mobility and WheelTrans. So actually, even the last week and tomorrow also I am going. I leave the mobility early morning at 12:45, and after my doctors at Eglinton, Toronto at the area, I come back at evening 7 o'clock. So it took me, because both these are not amalgamated. I am wasting time between the two trips, because mobility is in Markham area, WheelTrans on Toronto area. The time is wasted unnecessary, and I am a senior. I am 95. So many people will. So I sitting for 7 hours for my dental appointment is too. Can the WheelTrans take the lead and amalgamate both mobility and WheelTrans, please? That is it. That's all.
Thank you for that question. I think, Dwayne, you're going to take that one.
I will. Thank you. It's Dwayne Geddes again. So this is really about cross-boundary travel, cross-border travel, and we work very closely with our partners. So we're bordered on all sides of us, on 3 sides, by our Peel region. To the west, to the north, it's York region, and to the east, it's Durham region, and all 3 have different forms of paratransit. And we go just a 1 kilometer beyond each border, which is the WheelTrans policy. So that in those instances, we have to work in partnership with those partnering agencies to develop combination trips. So you would be able to book a trip with us, they get you to the border, and we have what we call transfer points. And then from that point on, the other service provider would take you to Durham or to York or to Peel. So we work very closely with them. And I'm just going to ask, I know Igor's on the line, our chair of ACAT, who's been a very much integral part, ACAT has been in part of our GTHA working group. We have accessible working group, which actually works with different accessible committees of those neighboring areas. So what happens is we make sure that we are really looking at cross-boundary and cross-border trips and integration to make sure that your experience is as smooth as possible. And Igor, I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about the work that you've been doing with that GTHA working group and how important that is.
Thanks, Dwayne. Yes, happy to speak about that. Thank you for the question. As Dwayne mentioned, I think at a very high level, integration between all the different transit services is something that is slowly starting to happen. And as Dwayne also alluded to, the team and group of folks that we have that meets on a yearly basis and as needed basis includes a number of different partners of transit operators within the region on accessibility, for example, to discuss ways that we can collaborate and work together on mitigating some of those tension points that you discussed and brought up in regards to transferring from one system to another. I think overall as well, I can speak at a higher level, and maybe some other TTC staff can take this question with regards to integration with the conventional service of different City of Mississauga, City of Toronto, and how that's working with regards to bus integration. That is something that we also discussed at at that meeting as well. So I think it's happening both at a WheelTrans perspective as well as the conventional service, and how you reintegrate more and more of the services together so that folks can have a more seamless experience when taking transit within the entire region. Thanks.
Thanks, Igor. This is Mark Miz speaking. In addition to the work that Igor had mentioned and Dwayne has, all agencies around the 905-416 boundary have been working together very closely over the last 12 months. That's Mississauga Transit, Brampton Transit, York Region Transit, Durham Region Transit, and the TTC to advance cross-boundary service integration. There are 24 corridors across the city right now where buses from the 905 operate within the city of Toronto, and our goal is to allow people within the city to access those vehicles. Right now, you may have had the experience where on Yonge Street or on Dundas, a bus that's a different color than TTC red bypasses you with doors closed. And we're working very closely with those agencies to overcome some of the challenges to allow anyone within the city of Toronto to access any bus. Hoping to see some advancement in that in Q1 of next year. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mark. And now over to, I think that was just Heather, or maybe Heather, do we have any more questions from our webcast this evening?
We do. So these ones are bucketed as service related, and particularly around our conventional system. So the first question is, why is it that operators of bus would not stop to pick me up while I'm standing in the pouring rain with flashing lights on my walker? The third time I finally put my walker in the path of the bus to force it to stop. The next question related to service is the TTC has removed bus stops at Market Square, where there are three seniors buildings and another building with seniors and families with strollers. We understand the decision to remove the Market Street stops was based on distance between bus stops, not on where needs are. This was a bad decision. And finally, whenever I take the bus, some drivers don't offer the ramp. I use a walker and I find I need to ask every time. I wish drivers would offer to bring the ramp down without me having to ask.
Hi, it's Kirsten Watson speaking. So, you know, we are always very, very disappointed when we hear about operators who will not stop and obviously assist our customers, whether that's ramp deployment or the example that Heather provided around someone who had to wave, you know, and put their walker in the path of a bus, which is terrible. So, you know, I think we are accountable for that, and we hold our operators to account, and we want to ensure that everybody has access to the service, of course. And I do encourage people to, you know, let us know. File a customer complaint, call us, let us know, send us an email to let us know when these things are happening, and we investigate and we follow up and we hold people accountable. So I can't, you know, more clearly express my disappointment when I hear these stories. So we have to do better. So thank you.
And Mark, I think the next question was over to you.
Thank you, Keisha. This question is about the recent service change on the 121 and extending service into the river community within downtown Toronto. I have a prepared answer, so if you bear with me, I'll read that because we anticipated this question. So the city is introducing cycling tracks to the Esplanade and additionally changing the street operations on the Esplanade to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety. These changes include turning the Esplanade into a one-way street to reduce infiltration into the neighborhood. And as a result of this change, TTC buses have to be rerouted to comply with new road designations. So this is something that's before working with the city and improving cycling in all active modes of transportation. And this bus stop change was required as part of that overall program.
Thank you for that, Mark. So now I think we have time for a lot more questions. Maria, do we have any questions on Twitter?
We're actually all caught up on Twitter questions at the moment, so no more questions right now.
Perfect. So Heather, maybe over to you. I know you had a bunch of questions you had to get through. Any more questions?
I do. So this this group of questions is going to relate to safety. And so the first question is, what are we going to do to ensure people who use mobility devices are going to be safe, especially since elevators have been used as washrooms since the pandemic started? Another safety related question is, sorry, that's just the safety related one at the moment. I will provide another group of questions related to accessibility once this is answered.
Thank you for that question. This is Dwayne Geddes again. So first, before I answer that, I just wanted to say thank you to the customer who talked about the mobile app and how happy they are with it. Thank you for that compliment. We really, really appreciate that. And I know that my team is listening and they are doing a lot of hard work on that mobile app, and ACAT's here. The chair of ACAT is here listening. So Igor, look at that. We got some really good news about the work we're doing on the mobile app. And we're excited about that. We're really, really excited about that. So we're happy you like it too. When it comes to safety, what I'm happy to say about safety, especially for those who may be using mobility devices, what we have at WheelTrans is a travel trainer. And this particular travel trainer will go one-on-one with all of our customers and help you navigate the system. If you've never been on a bus or a streetcar or in a station, if you haven't used our conventional system, that's exactly what this travel trainer is there, to help you to feel comfortable with that, to help you to be comfortable navigating the system. This is exactly what it's for this type of safety. And then, of course, every single employee at the TTC takes safety seriously, and it's top of mind. I know that our station staff they're also listening in on this call, and they've got a bunch of employees that are attendants at stations. We have different staff that are available at almost every single station to make sure that customers' experience is safe and is efficient. So if you have a question, they're out there to look for you to make sure that everybody's driving safely. We have operators who are operating our vehicles who are also out there looking out for your best interest and for your safety. So safety is top of mind for everybody. And as we say around the TTC, safety is everyone's business. So that's something that we hold very dear to our hearts. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dwayne. Yes, we do talk, I would say every single day we speak about safety here. I'd say it's one of our core pillars and what we focus on every day. So it's great to hear about all the good work happening at your team. Sylvie, maybe I'll go over to you. Any questions on the phone lines?
Yes, we do. And the next question will be from Miracle Suresh. Please go ahead.
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
So, I want to know if they can put any accessibility settings on the My WheelTrans website, and I also want to know how to participate in the WheelTrans app, and also I would like to know if they can send notification when the rides are running late, and also properly maintain all WheelTrans vehicles, because some of them don't have ramps, the handles are not there, and some of them you don't have the municipality, the City of Toronto municipality photo IDs. I've seen a number of vehicles, so I just want to know if this can be maintained and the vehicles can be maintained well.
Thanks for that question. Is that you, Dwayne?
Thank you. This is Dwayne Geddes again, and I'll respond to those. So there are a couple of points I meant to make sure I wrote them down. So I believe when it comes to, so let me address the WheelTrans app, because that's coming up a lot. So you want to know how you can participate in that? All you got to do is contact our customer service center. So if you call our customer service center, let them know that you'd be interested in taking part in the WheelTrans mobile app and testing it out, we can get you set up with that, and we'd love to get your feedback. So thank you for being willing to take part in that. We appreciate that. When it comes to late rides, again, very exciting news. I talked about this earlier on in the beginning of my presentation about how we're transforming WheelTrans. That's the next phase of WheelTrans when it comes to enhancing what we do. So we have a Where's My Ride a notification that's coming up. So that will answer that that particular issue. And when it comes to maintaining vehicles, I also happen to know for sure that our friends from the maintenance department at the TTC here take cleaning our vehicles very, very seriously. They are listening in, and we do try to pride ourselves on making sure that the vehicles are clean, they're spick and span, and they're ready for use, and they look very acceptable to you as our customers. So if there was an issue with a particular vehicle, please let us know again at our customer service center. But I know that our maintenance folks are listening in, and they're very, very, very proud of the work that they do on our vehicles to make sure that they're clean and safe for you to use every single day. So thank you for that comment.
For that, Dwayne. Maria, any new questions on Twitter? I know we were caught up, but just thought I should check in with you again.
No new questions. We're still caught up.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Heather, I think we're with you right now. Any additional questions from our webcast this evening?
Yeah, so these two pertain to accessibility. So the first is, why has the TTC expanded the subway from Wilson to Highway 7 before all subway stations were made accessible to riders? And the second accessibility question is, why is Warden Station not made accessible with an elevator, especially since there is a large long-term care home and rehabilitation center directly up the street?
Matt, I think that's you.
Thanks, Keisha. Why has Warden Station not been made accessible yet? That's a really great question. I'd say it's because of the complexity of that station. It is one of the stations that has individual bus platforms for every bus route, and it's simply not feasible to make accessible in its current form. So in a couple of years from now, we're doing the design right now to make it fully accessible. We'll be completely replacing the bus platform with a brand new accessible island-style bus platform, like you might see at Finch or Don Mill Station. And we'll be placing elevators to the subway platform at that time. And we can promise that the station will be accessible by 2025.
Thank you, Matt. And Kirsten, I think you wanted to speak to accessibility and overall.
Yeah, so I think the question is really about where we're spending our money and what our priorities are. And I would say that, you know, building for growth and building into other communities to create access to transit, particularly rapid transit and subway transit, that is definitely a priority for this organization, for the TTC, and I think for the region as a whole. And, you know, we also have the priority of making the system accessible. So essentially, we're doing both jobs. We're building for growth and we're building for expansion, working with our partners, of course, at Metrolinx and across the region. And we're also creating the current system and making it more accessible in tandem. So I think we're just doing both. Neither takes one priority over the other. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten. Sylvie, I think I will go over to you now and stay on the phone lines. Any additional questions?
Yes, we do. Next question will be from Emily Daigle. Please go ahead, Emily.
Hey, everybody. Most of you know me. I'm sorry I've been tweeting in frustration tonight. There's been safety critical issues. I've been attacked on the system since COVID just for needing a flip-up seat on line 2. I've had to use elevators that are so filled with pee and needles that it's absolutely unsafe and disgusting, especially for those of us with mobility devices if they have air tires. And number 3, very quickly, is thank you for being here tonight, but please don't only focus on WheelTrans. There are many of us who have attempted to use family of services and it's failed. And just please deal with the safety issues that we're dealing with elevators. And why isn't the elevator at Kipling being cleaned on the same basis as the airport Rockets buses when it's used by airport customers all the time? Thank you. And hello to Kirsten. Hello to everybody. Hello to Dwayne. And the lady who was replying to the employment question, I'll contact you later. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for your questions, Emily, and I look forward to hearing from you. So Kirsten, do you want to go with elevators first and cleanliness of elevators?
Yeah, so I think, thank you, Emily. Nice to hear from you. Emily keeps our feet to the fire absolutely on this stuff. And I always appreciate her feedback and keeping us aware of what's happening out there. So we're hearing a lot about elevator safety tonight. And I think that, we recognize that there have been problems in the system through the pandemic where we've had people using the elevators inappropriately and leaving, garbage behind and all sorts of things like that. So as I indicated earlier, we recognize the problem. We're deploying our staff to help address those problems. When we become aware of an issue, we address it immediately. And customers should feel comfortable approaching any member of TTC staff if they see anything so that we can address it. Like I said, we have, station staff, we have janitorial staff, we have fare inspection staffs in the stations, we have special constables, and of course, we just, the operators and so on about. So we recognize it's an issue. We also appreciate customers letting us know, like Emily, letting us know what's happening out there. And, I've made a note about Kipling, Emily, thank you so much. And, we will continue to be really aggressive on this stuff. So thank you.
Thanks for that, Kirsten. And Dwayne, I think you wanted to take the first part of the question.
Yes, thank you, Keisha. And hello, Emily. Always great to hear your voice. And thank you for tuning in, as you always do, and giving us great feedback. When it comes to, and I echo your comments completely when it comes to let's not, the whole reason, we're doing this family of services and this WheelTrans transformation is to really reintroduce the TTC to our customers and let them know that the full service is now accessible. Like you said, let's not just talk about WheelTrans. Let's talk about the whole conventional system. Every part of our system is now fully accessible. Streetcars, buses, subways, or stations, and we understand that we're not fully there yet. We know we've got 53 and we've got a number of more stations to include elevators in, and we've got to make sure that our elevators are clean and they're always running, that we don't shut them down and all of those things, and we keep them maintained. So we know that there's a lot of work to do, but we're well on the way. And that's really what we're trying to make sure that everybody is aware of, the work that the TTC has done to date to make the system accessible. We know we're not there yet, but we sure have come a long way from where we used to be. Over the last 10 years, we've made some major strides, and that's really what we're trying to show everybody. Emily, you're a perfect example of a customer who uses a WheelTrans customer who uses the conventional system regularly, right? And we know that there are many WheelTrans customers who use the conventional system regularly. And what we're trying to do is ensure that it's safe for you, that you're able to use it. I talked about the travel trainer, that for those who may feel a little bit apprehensive or a little bit concerned about using the conventional system on their own for the first time, please reach out to us so that we can do that. But we really want everyone to be comfortable to use it. This is why we've gone to all these great lengths to make sure that the system is fully accessible so that it is used by you. And if there are things that we need to work on, this is why we have these nights to hear from you so that we can work on them and improve them. And I know there was another part in there, Emily, that you talked about. Let me look at my note. Oh, about equitable hiring practices to make sure that we have that open lens. And I think Keisha's going to talk about that. But for sure the TTC we're all about equity and diversity and inclusion. And I think Keisha, as I turn it back over to you as our first chief of diversity and inclusion, that's evident in just looking at your face.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Of course it is.
So yes, Emily, aligned to your question around equitable practices in hiring, I would say under my mandate, I also have talent, which includes recruitment. So we're looking every day at our policies to make sure that we do have practices that are inclusive and easily accessible for all of our applicants who are looking to join the TTC family, as I said earlier. And it's everything from WheelTrans to operators to corporate functions, to trades, right? There's no limit in sort of how you can decide to join this great organization. So I know you offered to reach out to me, so I look forward to hearing from you. And with that, I would hand it over now to Heather. Maybe Heather, we can look to see if there are any questions from the webcast.
Yes, so I have two for family of services. The first is, how will family of services work if there are unplanned glitches, delays, etc. in the TTC subway or buses? And the other one is around unconditional passengers. So we've talked about this a bit tonight, but this person's question is unconditional passengers whose disabilities are permanent or unchanging and have been long existing customers should not have to be reassessed. Is there a way WheelTrans can assure this is not necessary or put something on a passenger file to ensure this?
Joanne, I'm pretty sure that's yours.
Yep, you are correct. Those are both mine, and I'll take those. Thank you, Dwayne, again. So I will touch the first one. When it comes to delays and FOS, Family of Services, I love that we're using the acronym there, FOS. So yes, our dispatch team, we've done a lot of training over the years. We are preparing for the fact that there will be mixed WheelTrans, conventional WheelTrans, and the goal is to monitor in real time all of the services to ensure that there are no delays to your service and the trip that you are taking, and that you will always be able to receive a trip on time and there's not major delays. Now, of course, things do happen. There are delays on all of our systems depending on weather and construction and all these different factors, but our dispatch team, the stars that they work on this consistently, regularly, always watching, seeing what's happening in real time to make adjustments to ensure that your trip is as smooth as possible. When it comes to unconditional eligibility, again, I spoke about this AODA criteria, and the criteria states that everybody must be placed in conditional, unconditional, or temporary. And for those who were prior to January 1, 2017, this is an AODA requirement that everybody must be re-registered to ensure that they are receiving the appropriate eligibility. So this is something that has been legislated, and there's no way around legislation like that. So thank you for that question.
Thanks for that, Dwayne. And maybe I'll go back to Maria now. Maria, any new questions on Twitter?
Yes, we actually do have a question that just came in on Twitter. The question is, with consideration that we are not fortune tellers, what are the TTC's plans for topics in the Accessibility Forum after 2025?
That is a really interesting question. Thank you. It's Matt speaking. You're right, we don't have a crystal ball, but by 2025, we expect to have all our stations accessible with elevators. And then it will be time to go beyond that. I think we need to improve accessibility for customers with vision loss or hearing loss, and think about intersectionality, people with cognitive disabilities. So I think there's more to do. We know that we're not just done once we've made all our stations accessible with elevators. And that's one reason we work with ACAT, our advisory committee on accessible transit. And Igor, our ACAT chair, will jump in here and add some more to my thoughts here.
Thanks, Matt. I think Matt responded really well to that question. I would just add and echo the comments made by Matt, and just to say that, accessibility is something that isn't necessarily limited to physical accessibility, as much as we focus on that and concentrate on that and reaching the milestone of 2025, I think is great and a great achievement. I think going above and beyond what is required in that mandate that will get us to 2025, I think is something that ACAT is very much interested in doing, and something that we do every day in terms of our relationship with staff and staff with us in terms of coming up with new and better improved ways to make this system as accessible as possible. So there's always going to be many more issues and topics to discuss when it comes to accessibility. And I think Matt is right, trying to incorporate an intersectional approach to access that goes a little bit beyond the mainstream disabilities that we hear about all the time. I think that will be a focus in the coming years.
Thank you, Igor, and thank you, Matt. And maybe I'll jump in, even though it technically was my question. I will also say in the coming months or shortly on my team, I will also be hiring an accessibility consultant. So if you want to help us, sort of map out what the future could be like, it's an opportunity to apply, right? And share your ideas and make an impact as we think about 2025 and beyond. So recognizing that there's a lot of people on the line I've heard, maybe I'll go to Heather next, and Heather, we'll take a few questions so we can divide and conquer and make sure everyone gets an opportunity to have their question addressed live.
Sure. So 3 questions here. One is again around late operations, and this pertains to contracted services that we have. So WheelTrans has been very prompt in coming and picking me up. However, contract cabs are picking up at times that a customer is supposed to be dropped off, which is creating a number of anxious feelings in people. Worried about some doctors will cancel appointments because people are late. But that this person also wants to recognize that all the staff that are working behind the scenes at WheelTrans should be applauded for their work. 2 more questions here. The next one, as we get closer to winter, part of making the TTC more accessible in the winter months is making sure all the paths and full-length sidewalks in front of and around the station are free of snow and salted. This would not only help those in wheelchairs be more independent, but also allow seniors using transit to travel more safely. This person also feels that the terrazzo floors at our entrances are inappropriate as they can become quite slippery when wet. And finally, this question relates to washrooms. And as we are encouraging more people to use family of services and the conventional system, washrooms on the TTC are far and few between. Are there any plans to increase the number of washrooms on our subways?
Thank you, Heather. So I heard washrooms, I heard getting ready for winter, and then I heard family of services. Yes. So family of services, getting ready for winter. Matt, is that you?
I'll take the family services first, if you don't mind, Keisha.
Perfect. Thanks, Dwayne.
Sure. So for family of services, we were talking about contracted services, and you know what? This is something that we certainly need to work on. Again, I talked about some of the improvements that we'll see with the software upgrades that are coming, so that's going to be great. But contract services, we'll definitely keep an eye on that. We don't get a lot of late complaints from our contract services, but we'll certainly keep an eye on that and make sure that they're operating to service our service standards. I know that our manager of contract services is listening in right now very keenly, and he'll take note of that and follow up with every single one of our contractors, who I believe as well, the management team, they're listening on this particular forum to make sure that they're hearing the feedback from you directly. So we'll make sure we follow up with them and make sure we're providing the top-notch service that you expect. When it comes to, I made a note of WheelTrans staff to be applauded. So I'm going to highlight that again. Thank you, whoever said that. Thank you very much. I'll make sure that I pass that along to the WheelTrans staff, who I'm sure are listening in. So WheelTrans staff, keep up the good work. And yeah, so, you're right. A lot of great work goes in behind the scenes, and we're very proud of the staff that works there very diligently to provide the service that you receive. And then there was another. Was there somebody going to answer elevators or?
Yeah, so we have getting ready for winter. I'm pretty sure that's going to be Kirsten, and then Matt, you'll end with washrooms.
So the caller the person makes a very, very good point that accessibility is not just about vehicles and stations. It's actually about being able to get to the station. So, accessibility, clearing the path, making sure the snow removal is done promptly. Those are all top priority for us. And in fact, we are just fine-tuning our winter readiness plan now. We know that this is top of mind to make sure that people have access to the stations and to our stops. The terrazzo tile and the water, that is a concern, of course, and we just stay on top of that and make sure that it's clear, and the janitors at the stations are very prompt at ensuring that they clear away those hazards. So thank you for that, and it keeps us sharp. Over to you, Mark.
Well, I'll be the first person to take away a question regarding the washrooms. I'm not aware of any plans of expanding the washrooms, but I can share with you that the Strategy and Customer Experience Group is looking at preparing a reset to the 5-year plan, and that will expand on customer experiences. And this could be something that we can include and analyze as part of that new plan. So thank you.
Thanks, Mark. So you get homework as part of this. Sylvie, do we have anyone on the phone lines?
Yes, we do. And next we will hear from Margot Brody. Please go ahead, Margot. Your line is open.
Well, I'm a little bit delayed because it was an information piece from way back, and that is that the customer service personnel from TTC who are there to assist, part of their training is that they have an awareness of those who are visually impaired, because those who are visually impaired won't be able to see them to approach them. And they will approach the visually impaired and ask if they require any assistance whatsoever. And another added piece of information is the fact that in terms of TTC staff training, ACAT is very involved in that, so they have a great deal of awareness about disability needs. Thank you.
Thanks for your question and comment, Margot. Igor, did you want to comment on this one?
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure if I have much to add beyond, I echo Margot's comments around training and our involvement in training. ACAT works very much hand in hand with staff and with the operators when it comes to accessibility and awareness around that. So I agree with that. That's something that has been happening, will happen, and will continue to happen in the future as we continue.
Thanks, Igor. And Sylvie, maybe I'll stay with you and take a few more questions on the phone as well.
Next question will be from Luis Barrera. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hi there. My issue is everybody's talking about accessibility to elevators in the stations. Now, did anyone ever think of how to activate doors, press buttons without touching the panels? There is a system out there called contactless access, where there's a unit put in, and through your cell phone, you can open, close, press buttons, do whatever on the elevator without ever touching anything. Because of COVID, that would be great, and also because of the mess that I've been hearing that's in the elevators. Also, another thing, I'm legally blind. How can I be able to tell which subway is going east, west, north, or south? Unless there's the new ones that have speakers that you can actually hear what they're saying, instead of being the ones that are crackly and crumbly that you can't even tell what the heck that is happening. So this is my question, my comment.
Thanks for your question and your comments, Louis. So I think, Matt, you would take this. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks for your question. I'll say that for subway trains, all of the trains should be making route announcements when they pull into the station and the doors open, and these announcements will tell you what subway line it is and which direction the train is going. If the trains are not making those announcements, please let us know about it by contacting customer service, because that's something we need to get fixed. With respect to the question about doors, we do have wireless wave sensors at some of our doors that connect into subway stations, and we like to use automatic sliding doors wherever possible. But we will look into the specific solution that you mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Sylvie, maybe we stay with you, yes?
Certainly. Next phone question will be from Prabhaharan Subramanian. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Hi, my name is Prabhaharan Subramanian. I am on a conditional eligibility. I have invisible disability. That is, I have a brain tumor, and due to that, both my hands are numb, and I have balance problem. Now, I have been given, I use a cane very recently due to the balance problem. Now, I have these stickers, please kneel the bus, please offer me a seat. Now, I'm unable to use these stickers because my hands are numb and I'm unable to take them out of the pocket. That's one of the reasons. If there's any other options available.
So Dwayne, I think I'll hand that one over to you.
Thank you for that question. It's Dwayne Geddes again. So that's, I believe we're talking about unconditional. You have conditional eligibility, and you have one of our buttons that offer me a seat. I believe I hope I'm understanding it correctly. That is one of the options that we have for you, and we do have a lot of campaigns that educate our customers on recognizing when customers who may have a disability use our conventional system. This is one of the things that we try to work on very, very closely with our ACAT team to make sure that we have the right sort of training involved for not only our customers but our employees to be able to be able to see this. And I'm wondering if there's maybe a specific incident that you've experienced that you were able to contact our customer service team so we can get some more details so we can try to provide a more appropriate solution. But in the meantime, I wonder, Igor, if you had any comments about this particular comment from our customer?
Yeah, thanks, Dwayne. I was just going to say, I think this is something that we can definitely take back as part of ACAT and the work that we do. We're always iterating new ways of displaying information and new ways of communicating with customers. So whether that be like the button that Dwayne mentioned or a piece of paper that you need to hold up and stuff, I think that's great insights for us in terms of that might not be an option for every single customer. So it gives us some food for thought and something to sort of think back about, and something that we can definitely bring back to our maybe our communication subcommittee and deal with it there. But I think it's an excellent point.
And Sylvie, maybe we'll take one more question from you before we go to our webcast viewers.
Certainly. Next phone question is from Janet Finley. Please go ahead, Janet.
My name is Jeanette. That's okay. My question is, I was waiting for the ride. It didn't show up. I waited over half an hour, and I checked the WheelTrans, and it said that the TTC was supposed to be at a certain time. The driver did show up, and I asked her, I said, how come you weren't here half an hour ago? And she said she just got the phone call. So I went to Women's College Hospital, phoned customer service afterwards, and they said that the bus broke down. And I asked them, why couldn't you have called me and told me that so I wouldn't be more anxious than I was waiting for the TTC. It wasn't the driver's fault. She got the call 10 minutes before, after the bus broke down. 10 minutes later, she got a phone call saying to pick me up, to take me to Women's College Hospital. I feel that there's a very bad communication between customer service and clients, and in regards to visually impaired and all the other people, I think it needs to be improved. That's it.
Thanks for your comment, Jeanette. I think, Dwayne?
Thank you for that comment. It's Dwayne Geddes again. So yes, we agree. We believe that we need to improve, and we recognize, one of the things that we recognize is that certain things may happen, like a vehicle breaking down, or vehicles getting into accidents, or construction. These are all different things that could happen on the day of service, and our operators are trying their best to get you. And I appreciate the fact that you mentioned our operator who did everything they can to get there on time. And it sounds like she that particular operator did a great job, and I appreciate you mentioning that. But we do know that there are instances where we can get a little bit better. We can get better at dispatching and trying to handle emergency situations. This sounds like an emergency situation in our dispatch center, and I can guarantee you that our team, they work very hard at trying to get a vehicle to you as quickly as possible. Sometimes what they're doing is focusing on that emergency as best as they can to try and find the appropriate vehicle to get to you in a reasonable time so you're not waiting as long. That's the goal. We want to make sure that even though this emergency happened and it was out of our control, what are we going to do to correct this and rectify this as soon as possible? Sometimes we're able to do it really, really quickly. Other times it does take a little bit longer, but this is something that we continually work on. We want to get better at, and we want to make sure that your experience is better and your wait times are lower. So that's something that we'll take away and continue to work on. So thank you for that comment.
Thank you, Dwayne. And Heather, I will go to you next. Any questions from our webcast or
I
advanced
do.
questions that have not
I-
been addressed?
I have a number of questions.
So we could do a
this-
few then. Yeah.
Perfect. So this group of questions pertains to accessibility in elevators and accessibility in streetcars. So the first two are elevator related. The third one is streetcar. First question is, can you make a commitment to accessibility that all future stations will include at least 2 elevators in each direction of travel to accommodate future population expansion and also unexpected breakdowns and maintenance? If only 1 elevator, that's a point of failure and renders the station inaccessible, and this will not work with family of services. The other elevator question is, when will the TTC finish Yorkdale Station elevator? And finally, the streetcar accessibility question is, this person, if I use streetcars on King, Queen, etc., I need to use the ramp because I cannot use the other doors because of balance issue. The operators quite often say the ramp doesn't work, and I've waited 3 or 4 streetcars before I can get on. This person also wants to acknowledge that most of the operators are polite and do try to help, but another person said, we normally have to ask or the odd time ask in not so nice way. What is the protocol when the operator leaves the stop before I have sat down or tapped my Presto card?
Okay, so I think we'll start with Matt.
Thank you, Keisha. So I'll start with Yorkdale Station elevators. The good news is those are set to be completed by the end of this year, so stay tuned. Those should be ready soon. The other question was about 2 elevators in every station. The moment TTC is not building any new subway stations, those are the responsibility of Metrolinx, though it is our understanding that they will be providing 2 elevators between each level in a subway station. We are building or planning renovated streetcar stations at Queens Quay, for example. So those will have multiple elevators serving all station levels, as well as at Bloor Yonge, where we're modernizing the station with a new subway platform serving line 2. And again, those will have multiple elevators. So if any given elevator in the station is not working, you can still get around the station. I'll pass it to Kirsten for streetcars.
So I get the tough questions about operators who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, trained to do. So on that note, I mean, again, disappointed when I always hear about operators, we are disappointed when we hear about operators who are not assisting our customers as they've been trained. Streetcar operators should be assisting with the ramps. They should be, providing that service. We do test the ramps regularly, so we know we have a high reliability around those ramps. And I do appreciate the comment, though, that most operators are good and most people are trying to help each other. That's across the TTC. We had the great compliments for WheelTrans staff, and that's fantastic. So we just have to keep on people and keep the training going and making sure that we're holding people to account. And again, we ask customers to let us know when these issues arise so that we can investigate and follow up. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Kirsten. So I think I'm going to go to Sylvie. I believe we have quite a few people on the line, and we're just about 22. So Sylvie, do you want to do sort of a fire round list of questions from those on the phone, and then we'll respond?
Certainly. Next question is from Louise Bark. Please go ahead. Your line is open.
Yes, first of all, hi, everybody. My main reason for bringing this up is because we're talking about family of services. And I have found that if I want to take a trip just using the conventional system alone, that when you go and do your trip plan, there's nothing that comes up to indicate that a bus has been diverted en route. So for example, I did a trip plan, it came up with a subway choice, a streetcar, and a bus. I have seen elevator notices come up on the trip planner, but nothing comes up about a bus being diverted. And I found a bus that was diverted for a whole month, but yet there was no sign at the bus stop. There was no sign on the info line, and there was no information even on the apps. I had several apps. So the main point is, I think that one of the solutions I'd like to recommend is that if I go to one stop of an elevator line, I can get information about all the elevators that aren't working. I'd like to recommend that the same thing happen for buses or streetcars if there's diversions, that there be a one phone number we could call to find out what is diverted. That way we won't get stranded. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Louis. So Dwayne, maybe if you can just take note of that question, and then we stick with Sylvie. Sylvie, can we get a couple more questions in, and then we'll just do rapid fire?
Certainly. Next question will be from Zenaida Jacinto. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I already asked the question earlier, but I haven't been called yet.
Take note of that question, and then we stick with Sylvie. Sylvie, can we get a couple more questions in, and then we'll just...
Jacinta, please turn off your computer, please.
Certainly. Next question will be from Zenaida Jacinto. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I already asked the question earlier, but I haven't been called yet.
Take note of that question.
Okay.
And then we stick with Sylvie.
Hello?
Yes, please ask your question.
Jacinta, please turn off your computer, please. Certainly. Next question will be from Zenaida Jacinto. Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
I already asked the question earlier, but I haven't been called yet. Take note of that question.
Okay.
Stick with Sylvie.
Okay, hello?
Yes, please ask your question.
Okay. My
Computer, please.
Next question is from Mufa Munshi. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to ask my questions. The first question is around interregional services. My question is, if for any reason that is where there is no fault of the customer, it becomes extremely difficult for the customer to make sure that WheelTrans communicates that there is no fault of the customer during the transit and the next regional ride, connecting ride, has been missed, and the regional services refuse to get in touch with WheelTrans. So is there a way to somehow set up a system where there can be communication between the regional parties and somehow get them to sort out so that money is not lost on the account of the passenger, especially when there is no fault of the passenger. Sometimes WheelTrans rides are late. Sometimes there are other issues that prevent one from being on time at the access point. And in such a situation, it gets very difficult to get the regional services to reimburse the passenger. This was one question. The other question I had was around the unconditional status of usage. I was hoping that I do not lose that status of being unconditional. I am blind. I do have difficulty with moving around the stations, and my hope is that I can continue to use the door-to-door service. Is there a point of time that for conditional users, door-to-door services will be withdrawn, and can a conditional user prevent that from happening? Those are my two questions. Of course, most certainly, I've been listening to all of these comments and everything, and there's just this one incident I want to point out at this point of time. I was standing with a whole heavy load of weight at a bus stop, and for the first time, the TTC driver pulled up the bus, did not open the door, first made the announcement, and I didn't even know that there were speakers outside the bus. So he made the announcement. He said, "Sir, please step behind. I see that you have weight. I'm going to let the ramp down. You may drag your weight up the ramp. You don't have to carry it up." And for the first time, and this was really, really nice of him, very, very touching. I never knew that somebody could actually make that announcement on the outside of the bus. And he was so kind. Absolutely loved knowing that the service can be available for somebody. And the driver was observant. I was really, really happy, very touched. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. Those two questions and that comment or compliment at the end. Sylvie, maybe we'll take one more question on the phones.
Certainly. We will try again with Zenaida Jacinto. Please go ahead.
I was really, really happy, very touched. Thank you so much.
Hello?
Yes, Danita, your line is open. Please mute your computer in the background.
Or compliments.
I am sorry, I cannot.
Maybe we'll take one more question on the phone.
Maybe.
Certainly, we will try again with Danita Jacinto. Please go ahead.
Okay, my question is, like.
Yes, Danita, your line is open. Please mute your computer in the background.
I am sorry, I cannot.
Maybe we'll take one more question on the phone.
Maybe.
Certainly, we will try again with Danita Jacinto. Please go ahead.
Okay, my question is.
We will move on to the next question, which will be from Lalita Mahendra. Please go ahead, Lalita.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I want to know from your region, WheelTrans, to those days, Midland and Steel, we had to get the transit. We had to get the TTC service from York to Scarborough, no? Hello? Hello?
Can we ask you to repeat the question?
My question is, those days I take the transit at Midland and Steel Tim Horton. Now, where am I to get the transit? To get the TTC. Can you understand?
I think we may need to look for an opportunity to connect with you one-on-one, or did anyone get that? Yeah, we may need to look for an opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and address your question. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sylvie, maybe we'll keep it in here, answer a few questions. Just want to be respectful of getting to the questions before we end. But Dwayne, I think most of them were yours.
Thank you for that. So this is Dwayne Geddes again. So I've written down a few of these. So first, I'm going to say hello to Louise Bark. I know Louise, a former ACAT member. So hello, Louise. And Margot was another one. I didn't get to say hi to you, Margot. You also called in and gave a comment. So hello to you as well. So Louise had actually a pretty good idea here when it came to the conventional trips and how we can track them. So I think that we will take that back. I know my team has been listening, Louise, about that particular comment that you've made. And what we'll do is we'll take that back and see if that is an option for us in terms of tracking our trips and being able to tell where our customers are and get that real-time information. And I think that one of the questions were really about, how do we get that information about if an elevator is down, our bus is diverted, our route is diverted. We know we have a lot of information on our website. That's definitely a place you can go. And in terms of calling somebody, you can always call our customer service center who has access. So if you don't have access to the website, of course, you can just call our customer service team and they have access to what's happening in real time in terms of all of our routes, diversions, and all of those sort of things. So when it comes to calling or checking our website, that's where you really would go for all that updated information. And then there was another question about interregional service and communicating between the parties. So we work really well with I mentioned that at the top of the session here with another caller who called in about the work that we do with our interregional transit partners, the GTHA partners. We work really closely with them. And when it comes to traveling across borders, we really do pride ourselves on communicating with them efficiently. And I think there was a question about being charged or not being charged if a vehicle is late. So that's something that's done on a case-by-case basis for sure with WheelTrans. I can't speak to the other transit properties and what their practices are, but I do know for sure that you can call our customer service center and we will definitely work with you in terms of what's happening with that trip and whether it was late or not late. Unconditional status, there was another comment or question about if you have unconditional status or conditional status, and if you're unconditional, you don't want to lose it. So what I can say to you, again, a lot of questions about eligibility. And I mentioned off the top during my presentation, when it comes to eligibility, the most important thing is that we get your eligibility correct. So if you have any questions about what your current eligibility status is, if you need to be reassessed, if you don't have the right assessment, please call our customer service center. We want to get it right. We know you want to get it right, and we want to get it right. If you are unconditional and you shouldn't be using the conventional service, we certainly don't want you to be using the conventional service. On the flip side of that, if you are conditional and you're able to use the conventional service, we want you to take full advantage of our conventional service. It's accessible. You got the freedom of travel. It's all about equity and fairness and freedom of travel. We want you to use it. We want you to take advantage of it. We've heard even from some of the callers tonight who've given examples of what their experiences using our conventional system. So we know that WheelTrans customers are using the conventional system, and there are probably a number of customers who aren't WheelTrans customers but who use mobility devices, and they're taking advantage of our conventional system. So we're really happy about that. And there was even it ended on a compliment about one of our bus operators. I'm going to turn that over to Kirsten so she can be proud of our operators for what they've been doing out there in that compliment.
So thank you for that. And I will be brief. That is a fantastic story. It's we love to hear that stuff. And like I said before, most TTC employees, the vast majority of TTC employees are here to help, and they're there to help, and they would do this work, continually. So thank you for that. And I just want to, on the issue of diversions and so on, I just want to promote our website, our new website. And I encourage everybody listening tonight and watching to check it out. Go check out the website, see what you think. It's going to be great. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Kirsten. So given that we're getting to the top of the hour, I thought I would allow our panelists if they had any final remarks, and maybe we start with Igor. Igor, any final remarks or comments as we close out the night?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to thank everyone for attending, all the customers, the public, for submitting questions, asking those questions. It's something that we don't take for granted, the system that we have, and all the work that we still have to do and all the work that we have done. So I just want to thank everyone, from staff to ACAT members to the public, on working with us on accessibility. I do just want to draw attention to one point, which I think sort of maybe ties together a lot of the comments that have been made, which is around technology, and how technology has been a very large part of the work that I would say that we do on ACAT and the TTC does when it comes to accessibility. So as was just mentioned, there's a brand new TTC website, but it doesn't end there. There's ways that customers have made suggestions, such as the gentleman with regards to the phone interacting with the elevator that Matt talked about with the sliding doors. There's also interesting tools that I think the TTC will be rolling out in the weeks to come with Magnus Card and different types of ways that we're helping folks with cognitive disabilities, as well as other things that are in the background that we don't see, such as the systems that Dwayne mentioned in regards to booking and reservations, and some of the mobile apps that are launching or will be launching. So I think that we made some great strides, and obviously it's a challenge working and trying to tie all that in together. It's such a complex system, such as the TTC. However, I do think we're improving, and I think accessibility will improve with the help and assistance of technology in those respects. So I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, thanks to everyone, and back to you, Keisha.
Thanks very much. And you're so right, Igor. Technology is definitely an enabler when we think about accessibility. Matt, any final remarks?
It's hard to build off of what Igor just said. That was really perfect. So I'm not sure I have too much more to say, aside from the fact that there's clearly still more to do, given what we heard tonight, especially as Family of Services rolls out. We know we really need to interconnect WheelTrans and the conventional TTC to make sure that everybody can take full advantage of it. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And Mark, you were the only one that had homework tonight. What are your final remarks?
Well, I just want to thank the customers for calling in and sharing their feedback about the system. It's always important for us to hear about how the services are being used and where we can improve. And it's the only way that as a transit system we can get better. So thank you for taking time out of your busy lives. I'm sure there's something else you could have done tonight, but thank you for taking time out of your lives to share information with us.
Thank you. And Dwayne,
Right,
I think you were the most popular tonight. Your final remarks.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think everybody said it already. Igor, Matt, and Mark. So thank you. Just a big thank you for joining us, for letting us know your feedback. This is the only way we can improve. And at the TTC, we're really just trying to make Toronto accessible. We want to just make it the most accessible city in the world. We know this is a world-class city. We're all excited to live here. We're really happy about the city we live in, and we want to get us to that level. We want us to be the best, and you're helping us get there. So thank you for joining in and for spending time with us and for your feedback. And we're really excited about what's to come. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dwayne. And I will end with our Deputy CEO, Kirsten. What are your final remarks?
So I think, a lot's been said. I really want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. It's always a really great privilege for this evening. We learn a lot, and we do listen, we do take it away. And I've been involved in a number of forums, and this feedback informs policies and procedures at WheelTrans. It informs other policies and procedures, like Keisha was speaking about, some of the hiring initiatives. So really, please know that you're valued, and this has been very good for us again. So thank you. I want to thank Igor. I want to thank ACAT, because again, they also inform us and help us really move forward. So thank you for their hard work. And I really want to thank the TTC team. So, it takes a very, very large village to get the service out there every day and to make your customer experience great. And so sometimes we don't always deliver perfectly, and thank you for letting us know and keep letting us know. But I want to thank everybody at the TTC for all of their hard work and commitment to accessibility and to the service. And I really want to thank the TTC team tonight that pulled this all off. This has been tremendous. Our second virtual, and just an amazing team pulling this together. So thank you so much. So Keisha, that's it.
Thank you, Kirsten. So I will just end the night by saying thank you to Sylvie, Heather, and Maria for coordinating the great questions that came in from our customers. We have a whole team behind us here making this happen, and there's a lot online. I've been getting texts about go to the phones, go to, go to Twitter. So I know we have a really engaged group of customers, and know that we are committed every day to really making the system better and making Toronto proud. And we're glad that you were able to come and participate and share your feedback and really be so generous with your time as we think about, what we say here is how we transform and how we modernize. So thanks for being here. Thanks for providing your feedback. I think my friends, just because we're right on time, are going to leave on the screen some ways for you to provide feedback to us. I know there was one person on the line we weren't able to get to. If you can call us, email us, we'll love to take that question and then provide answers or feedback as appropriate. So again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And I guess we get to do this again next year, Lord willing. Stay safe, everyone.